Hi, my name is Auji binti Abdul. I'm from LSP402 Group 4 and my matric number is 146126. Today I'll be talking about the Black Death. Introduction to the Black Death. What is the Black Death? The Black Death refers to the bubonic plague that once struck Europe in the mid 1300s. It is said to be originated from China and entered Europe through the trade routes. One day, 12 ships docked at the Sicilian port of Messina and issued chaos. Many curious citizens gathered around to get a glimpse of what was happening, only to be met by a gruesome image in front of them. What they saw was onboard sailors laying lifelessly on the deck, and those who were still hanging on to their dear lives were in a very bad condition. They were covered in black boils that oozed blood and pus. This tragedy marked the start of Europe's deadliest pandemic of the history. Just over 5 years since the pandemic started, over 20 million Europeans were killed, and this number represents almost one third of the continent's population at that. Symptoms you might have if you ever caught this disease. First of all, you will have swellings of your lymph nodes either in your groin area or your armpit area. If you don't know what lymph nodes are, they are basically organs that filter foreign particles from your blood. It's similar to your immune system that fight against diseases. Back to the swellings. The swellings were said to be so bad that it would grow to the size of a hard-boiled egg, or in some unfortunate cases, it would grow as big as an apple, and there would be blood and pus seeping out from the swellings. The general symptoms that infected people show would be diarrhea, vomiting, fever, chills, pain here and there, which will subsequently lead to death. However, there were some cases where they showed no symptoms at first, and after a certain period of time, their health will rapidly decline, causing them to die. What is the science behind this Black Death? Scientists today discovered that the plague was actually caused by a bacterium called Yersinia pestis. This bacteria can be transmitted from human to human or pneumatically, which is by air or wind. Also noted that the bacteria could be originated from infected pests. They believe that the bacteria first grew in rats as their first host, and when the rats died, the bacteria had to move to find a new host, which happened to be the fleas that hovered over the rat carcasses. And the fleas will transmit the bacteria to humans. To support this theory, you have to know that both pests were very common in medieval Europe. I remember when I said that this plague started from the ship's arrival. The reason I correlate between these two, because back in the 1300s, Europe, especially England, was one of the biggest trading nations, so ships were widely used. However, these ships were very poorly maintained that it became infested with rats, especially in the deck because of its conducive condition for the rats to grow, which is it was wet, moist, and totally hidden from sunlight. Next, we are going to talk about the health consequences. Due to the limited science discovery at that time, doctors and scientists almost did not know what to do. I said almost because they came up with these very odd and painful ways to treat the patients. The first method they used was called bloodletting. Bloodletting was done by cutting a person's blood vessels in order to unclog the blocked lymph nodes. The logic behind this was physicians at that time believed that this disease was caused by imbalance in blood flow, so in order to overcome that, they need to unclog the blocked lymph nodes. Next, they also tried another method called the blood lancing. The blood lancing is done by pricking onto the swollen lymph nodes with a freshly burnt knife. And what they thought might ease the pain turned out to be worse, because this time the lymph nodes became bigger with more blood and toxin poisoning oozing out of it. The doctor also believed that this disease is transmitted spiritually, and one doctor said that, may I quote, instantaneous death occurs when the aerial spirit escaping from the eyes of the sick man strikes the healthy person standing near and looking at the sick. Amid all of this nationwide panic, doctors refused to treat any patient, leaving the Europeans, especially the villagers, to be totally helpless. So they came to a decision to move to a more far and secluded place from the center of the pandemic. Okay. However, this decision is useless or pointless at that time, because by this time the plague was already everywhere. It had infected livestock as well as people. Moving on, we are going to talk about the social consequences that the community had to bear after the pandemic. It was a disaster because their economy was fumbling down, and there was a scarce of food resulting in famine. A big portion of the population was wiped out, and there will be disappearance of villages that would be found hundreds of years later in a dense forest. Due to the lack of biological understanding behind this disease, the community, the Europeans, will simply believe that it was a divine punishment to retribute human sins to God. This belief will then lead them to purging their troubled community. For example, the Jews were massacred because they were accused to being the one that brought in the plague to Europe. The important question is the COVID-19 pandemic right now our civilization's Black Plague? As we all know, the Black Plague is one of the deadliest pandemics in the world history, and it took so many lives regardless of age, gender, or health conditions. And now we are struck with this virus called the COVID-19. I think we should be worried, but we should not be worried beyond any reasonable fear, because now we have a better understanding of the diseases, and we have preventive medicine compared to what they had in the 1300s. And we also have systems in place to combat this pandemic, and we have the ability to find cure through research. It is scary given the knowledge of what the previous pandemics had done in the past, but I believe that we as a whole can fight this together to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic to become the next Black Plague. Thank you.